I am so thrilled to be hanging out with you every Wednesday live. And I can't wait to get to know you more and help us all through this crazy awakening of midlife. I think what's happened is this is a whole nother puberty. It's a whole nother transformation of our souls and our bodies. Our bodies are going crazy whack, right? And we don't know what is going on. And our perspectives are changing. Our belief systems are changing. And when we were in junior high, we could go to school every day and we saw everybody else changing. We saw everyone feeling crazy and we were not alone. It was normal. We had a maturation class in 5th grade to figure out and prepare us for what is coming and how to navigate it. And we were watching people figure out their new styles. We're watching people fall in love for the first time, right? Like have these new feelings, these new interactions with the world. And here we are in our 40s. We all live in our own individual house. We're not showing up to hang out with a bunch of 40-year-olds every day. And so it appears like we are our own individual source of crazy. But yet, if we were all showing up to school like we were when we were 13, we would see that this is across the board. This is a phase. This is a massive transformation in women's lives that we feel this in a capacity that men do not feel. We have hormones that really determine our personality. They determine our life. And it is an honor and a privilege to be able to be here and watch this on a massive scale, have a view that a lot of people don't have, where I can see hundreds of thousands of women sharing their stories with me every day. It is very overwhelming to see this, but how amazing is it to realize that we are not alone. We are not alone. So to everyone that is joining me from TikTok, hello, please drop where you're from and ask any questions that you want about navigating midlife. Now, if you have questions about hormones specifically, please join our Facebook Wake Her Up Facebook group. And we have incredible experts and coaches here to be able to help you navigate through all of the crazy changes in hormones. Today, we are going to talk about 3 amazing questions that helped wake up my soul in the middle of chaos. If you are joining me from our amazing Facebook community, hello, everyone. It is wonderful to see you. Please drop in the comments where you're from and any questions you have about just how to navigate or maybe what phase you're in for navigating your midlife. Like what seems to be the thing that is the most confusing right now, the most frustrating, where you feel the most stuck in your midlife. Hello, Sugar and Spice. Hello, Debbie from Canada. Hello, Christine from Vancouver. We are everywhere. Wowie wow, all over the world. Hello, Texas and Tennessee. Good morning, everybody. We're going to jump right in and we're going to keep this very short and sweet. I shouldn't say very short and sweet, but I want to say you're going to walk away today feeling awake and alive without having added any hormones in. And I know this because I have experienced amazing awakenings before I even knew anything about perimenopause. Now, when I was 38 years old, I had gotten to a point where I had gotten myself through a horrible divorce. I had gotten remarried. I had put my life back together. I had everything that appeared to look like a successful life. I was a business owner. I was living the dream. My kids were healthy. I had a house bigger than anything I had ever lived in as a child. My marriage was fine. Everything was good. And yet, my oldest daughter moved out to live with her dad. And there I was, a pile of a person bawling in the corner, feeling like a complete disaster, a complete failure. And I thought, is this life? Is this life where I just find myself over and over and over in complete devastation. And then I have to go and rebuild my life and re-find myself and figure out who I am every time something fails. I was so sick of trying to find myself over and over and over every time something bad happened. Right? So when something bad happens and all of a sudden you wonder, who am I? I guess, wow, I've really messed it all up. This isn't working. What are some of the things that you typically do where you're like, okay, I need to get myself back together? You start going to the gym, you start dieting, you start reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, right? Like you're like, okay, we gotta get Marcella back, right? What are some of the things you guys do when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I have failed, I have lost myself? What is it that you jump in and start doing to try to say like, oh, there I am? What is that thing where you're like, got to get your crap back together, right? You know, you're trying to like find yourself again, rebuild yourself, get yourself together. Anybody else like just totally sick of this cycle? Like, totally sick of it. And you kind of get to a point where you realize, wait, me beating myself up, me trying to wake up at 5 a.m, go to the gym, read the books, set all the goals. Like we're in it's January 10th, right? Like we're in the midst of you having probably just set goals, set intentions, done a vision board or whatnot. And you're like, who's beating themselves up for having not done it? And, you know, you still feel like crap. You're still dragging yourself around. And really in the end, you just want to be able to wake up and love your life and feel good and be like, there I am, and not be yelling at yourself all the freaking time. Am I right? Okay. So here are the things that helped me to get out of that insanity. Okay. So I went through something I don't talk about a lot. At about 38, I was recognizing that food was this full obsession. I recognized that I was a food addict. And I was introduced to the 12-step addiction recovery program, and I dove in. Terrifying, one of the most terrifying things that I've chosen to do in my life, where I showed up to the meetings. I had a sponsor. I was on the calls every day, checking in with my sponsor, and went through the 12-step addiction recovery program intensely for 2 years. And this program opened my brain and my whole being into what I can control and what I can't, and how to accept the stuff that you can't. Right? Anybody ever been in 12 steps? Does that sound familiar? Right? Accept the things that you cannot control and change the things you can. So this helped guide me towards so much more serenity in my life, where I was getting out of the cycle of doing more. I was able to sit with myself and look at what are the pieces Marcella can actually do something with instead of trying to control everybody out here. And that process eventually led to me meditating. Now, I know how I felt when someone told me to meditate. I was like, nope, like that's not for me. I don't know how to turn my brain off. My brain does not like to be quiet. If you say meditating, I was like, I don't even know what that is. Are we like laying on a yoga mat? Are we sitting in a prayer position? Like when you meditate, are you saying mantras? Like I had no idea what that meant, quite frankly. And through a lot of practice, a lot of reading, a lot of listening to what meditation meant to other people, eventually I got to a point in time where I would just sit in my empty basement. I would have journaled a bunch of thoughts, just dumping stuff out. And then I would sit there and I would time myself for 5 minutes, and I would just sit and be like, don't think about anything. I would just scream at myself, don't think. And well, you know what? Guess what? After practicing that for a little while, it worked. I had to try a few little tricks, right? To try to not be screaming at myself. But eventually I got to a point where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting here without thoughts and I exist. That is life-changing. That will change your existence forever. And it's very hard to describe what that does when you can sit without thought and exist, because I did not know that you are not your thoughts. Think about that. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just lying to you, basically. They are usually not very helpful at all whatsoever. Quite destructive, actually. Most of the thoughts that you are having, you would probably report to the principal if another child was talking to your child like you talk to yourself, right? Anybody? Does me? Am the only mean girl in my own head? Or do you have a mean girl in your head? Yeah. Okay, so let's get specific here. I want you to ask yourself a few questions. And this is going to help you be able to hear yourself today, right now, in this moment. And I don't know about you, but before someone asked me some of these questions, I don't think I had ever stopped or paused long enough to realize that I had a soul inside of, I believed I had a soul inside me, but I had never actually listened to her. I didn't know what that sounded like. I didn't know what that looked like. So I want you to do something right now. I just want you to, in your mind, your mouth is closed. You're not going to be audible at all. I just want you to say the words in your mind, hello, or yell, or anything you want. Just hello in there. Like, do you hear that? Do you hear the hello that is in your brain? Raise your hands. Just pop it like, yep. Drop a heart or a hand. Do you hear the hello in your head? Ladies on my membership, yes, yes. Drop a, yep, I hear the hello. Like, hi, you hear it. You hear it in your head. Okay. Think about this. It isn't you that is saying the hello. That's the thought. It's you hearing it. You are the one hearing it. You are behind the hello. That was a game changer. And that comes from Michael Singer's Untethered Soul. It was so incredible to realize, oh, there I am. You are the one hearing your thoughts. So if you are not your thoughts, then who the hell are you? And that we think that we're listening to our thoughts is us listening to ourselves, and it's not. You are behind the thoughts. So think about this right now. What did you wake up thinking about? Does anybody give me anything? What did you wake up thinking about today that feels like a little discomfort, frustration? Just drop anything. What did you wake up thinking about where you're like, right? Like, is it your body that's frustrating? Is it your kids? Is it your marriage? Give me something, or I'm going to come up with my own. All right. So, for example, this morning, woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, my email is so full. It is so overwhelming. I am horrible about being consistent with my email. I'm horrible about organizing my email. And I need to get my crap together. That's a thought. Well, it's not very nice, right? And I need to recognize, like, wait, I am not all those thoughts. There is email, there it is. And I'm recognizing that I'm feeling resentful towards it, frustrated. I'm beating myself up about it, but I am not those things. Then that allows me to put that there and see it without being totally consumed in the self-doubt and the self-frustration and beating myself up. I can recognize, interesting that my thoughts are being so mean about my email. Interesting that I am going down this huge rabbit hole of self-doubt because of my email. And I can just sit and look at it from the girl behind the thought. And then it's easier to make decisions going forward with that. It's easier to be able to not get so down the rabbit hole of self-doubt and frustration because you are not your thoughts. Yeah? Okay. So that first question of asking yourself to pause for 1 second, take a breath, see the thoughts that are going on up in here, and recognize you are not your thoughts. You are behind the thoughts. So, to make that even a little easier, if you are feeling sad, you are not the sadness. Sadness is something you, your true self, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, your soul is experiencing. It's a thing that's out here. Sadness is here, and you are experiencing it. You are not sadness. So, okay, Leanne, thank you for jumping in there. So you had said financially anxious. And again, like all these things are on the outside. Like you are not your finances. You are not a measurement. Your finances are not a measurement of your worth or your value. So the closer you get to hearing you, knowing you, the inside you, the less finances are attached to your worth because you will have sat with you. You'll know that the finances actually have nothing to do with who you are. You will become less anxious about your relationships because you'll realize that the success of your relationships has nothing to do with the measurement of your value and your worth. They're out here. It's something that you and your soul are experiencing. It's not who you are. So that's the first little tip that helped me kind of be like, oh, whoa, what? Like, I'm not my thoughts? Are you kidding? Like, I didn't even know that you could go behind your thoughts. So when you start hearing all of the chatter in your head, pause for a second and watch it. And I think this is the reason why journaling is so effective, because you're taking your thoughts, you're putting them on paper, you're putting them outside yourself so you can be behind the thoughts. You're the girl listening to those things that you're writing on the paper. So that's number one of my awakening experience where I thought, whoa, I'm not my thoughts. So that's number one. Number two is, how do you turn those thoughts off, right? If they are just coming at you over and over and over. Here is a little trick question that helped me, and still I use it all the time, every day. When you get stuck in this thing, it could be your finances, it can be your email, it can be your relationship, it could be literally anything. It could be you came upon a train wreck. Ask yourself this question. How can you be useful? How can you be useful to whatever this is? So if you're anxious about your finances, if you're frustrated about your finances and they're overwhelming to you, you're starting to create all of these horrible thoughts about yourself because of the situation of your finances, all of a sudden you ask yourself, wait a minute, how can I show up to this? How can I be useful to this mess over here that has been really overwhelming and frustrating? How can I be useful to it? All of a sudden, it separates you from the problem. It separates you from the stress. It's like you showing up to a friend that is having a really bad day, and you're saying, how can I be useful? What's going on with your friend? Not your problem, not your situation. It has nothing to do with you, but you are showing up to be useful to it. Do you see what is happening here? So if your kid is, trying to give you like a real example. Okay, here's an example. I was in the kitchen making dinner and dog is barking, trying to answer an email, also doing dinner. And then my son comes in and is like, hey, I need help with this project. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. No one's helping with dinner. Dogs are barking. No one's helping with the dogs. I'm trying to get my work done. And then I start spiraling into like all of these things, like nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. No one, la, 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 right? You know, right? You go down the rabbit hole of just like, everybody. So what I did there is when I opened the fridge to get something else out for dinner, I took a deep breath and asked myself, how can I be useful here? And it changes everything, because all of a sudden, everything that's going on, you're just standing back and being like, how can I show up and be the hero here? It has nothing to do with your worth, nothing to do with people not paying attention to you or helping you or making sure that you feel appreciated. All of a sudden, you can just show up and be useful. Sometimes being useful is you leaving. Sometimes being useful is you asking yourself, how do I want to show up here? How can I be useful? And the thing that was most useful in that particular situation was that I was present. So I thought, okay, you know what? I don't actually need to be doing my email right now. I can do that in an hour. That was useful to that situation. Set that aside. I could turn on some fun music and add to the happiness of the environment. So I turned on some fun music. I asked for some help for dinner. And then I able to sit with my son and be present for his homework. And that was how I was able to show up and be useful to that scenario. And this can happen anywhere at any time. My sister Sharon, some of you follow her, Sharon Alive. She's my little sister, and she's incredible. And we were going through the 12-step addiction recovery program at the same time, and we were practicing this idea of like, how can I be useful? And I tell the story a lot. Love the story. She has 6 kids, and she went to Walmart, and she was in the Walmart parking lot, and there were 2 women getting into their car, taking forever. Like, what are you possibly doing? Just get in your car. I'm sitting here waiting for you to back up. I've got 6 kids in the car. Can you just move your car so I can get into the stall? And they were just taking forever and ever and ever. And she was super frustrated. And finally, she took that 1 second breath, and put the car in park, got out of her car and asked the women, hey, can I help with anything? Are you okay? Can I help you? She like physically asked, like, how can I be useful here? And these 2 women said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We're trying to snap these car seats in because we're picking up our grandchildren and we cannot figure it out. And my sister has got 6 kids. She knows how to snap in a car seat. So she was like, oh, I can help you. Click, click, click. And off everybody went. And now it's this amazing story about how you can be useful. And that is, how many times do we get frustrated or overwhelmed by a situation and we never even thought to ask ourselves, like, how can I be useful here? So first question, or first little thing to recognize and be aware of, is that you are not your thoughts. Stop, look at the thoughts, be behind your thoughts. Then ask yourself, how can I be useful? How can I be useful right here? Does anybody have any situations that you're dealing with right now where you're thinking, I don't know how to apply this question to this situation. I don't know how to, like, you have this situation and you're like, that question doesn't work for this. Do you have anything like that? If you do, go ahead and just drop whatever your scenario is, and maybe we can help you work through that. Oh, yes. Kate, one of our admins in our community, just recommended this wonderful book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And it's by Wayne Dyer. Anybody want to jump in here? Loving this. Okay. Let me know if you do have a scenario that you want to discuss where you're trying to figure out, how do I apply that question? How do I even be useful to this situation? Maybe it just is so much you don't really know what to do. Let's talk about that. The next thing, the third question or scenario that is going to happen One, you're going to realize you're not your thoughts. There's that. So start recognizing that. Two, when you ask yourself, how can I be useful? A funny thing happens. You start showing up with your best self. You start showing up in like this hero mode. You start seeing how when you show up, how it matters, and it makes a world of difference. When you shift that perspective from like, it's happening to me to how can I happen to it, and you're showing up, that's when you watch yourself do things. You watch yourself show up, change lives, affect people, make things better. And if you aren't seeing yourself show up, if you cannot even see yourself if you don't even know how you are useful, how can you love yourself? How can you actually authentically be in love with who you are? I'm sorry, but I did the sticky notes on my mirror for a very long time. Affirmations, vision boards, all of the self-talk, again, like changing your thoughts. Like I told myself that I was awesome, told myself that I could do it, told myself that I was, a millionaire, all the things for years and years. And I think what was happening is every time I read those sticky notes, my brain would be like, liar, you don't actually know who you are. You don't actually love yourself. How could you possibly love yourself if you're not hanging out with yourself, if you're not actually getting to know yourself, if you're not listening to yourself? Think about it. How do you fall in love with someone? First step, you have to even know that they exist. You have to see them somewhere. Oh, there he is. There she is. You have to have a spark of awareness that they even exist. So you have to pay attention enough to yourself to know that you exist behind the thoughts, because that is where you actually are. So you're going to see yourself. You're going to be like, oh my gosh. And then what? Then you have to talk to yourself. You have to get to know them. You have to find out what they like and what they don't like and how they interact with the world. And that's where the question of how can I be useful comes in. Because when you act on that, that's where you'll actually see how you interact with the world, why it matters that you show up. Just like you would go on a date with someone that you're getting to know, you're going to watch how they interact with the world. You're going to watch what frustrates them, watch how they are useful to people, watch how they love people, watch how they care for people, watch how they brush their teeth, right? Like you have to be able to see how you show up in the world. Those are the things that help you fall in love with somebody. And that is the same for yourself. And once you start watching yourself show up, you won't need the sticky notes anymore to tell yourself that you love yourself, to tell yourself how great you are. You will see it on a daily basis. You will see that when you show up and you're useful, it changes lives. It saves people. It brings hope. It brings love. It is impossible to authentically love someone if you do not even know who they are. Please drop a heart if this has been helpful. Please tap the screen, drop a heart, anything here if this is resonating with you. I know for me, this has been life-changing for me. I know that I have had really deep, incredible conversations with so many women that are having these awakenings. They're finding their true selves behind the thoughts. And I will say that with so much awakening in the world right now, for me, even though I've had all these awakenings, some of it feels way out there in like woo-woo la-la land, right? Like I am not one to be sitting around a drum circle with feathers in my hair and doing like, I don't even know what they do, mantras and prayers. Or if that's your jam, you should do that 100%. But I feel like I'm just kind of this regular vanilla girl that wanted to just be able to wake up and do her life without hating myself. And it felt like a really big jump to go from that almost kind of in a depressed mode to jumping way over here to like a Bali retreat and doing breath work and whatever else they do. And so I feel like this conversation is kind of that beginning of an awakening. Maybe we get to Bali, right? Maybe we're doing Reiki and breath work and psychedelics and all of that goodness. But in the beginning, had you talked to me about breath work and all of that, I wouldn't have even been able to hear you. That was so far from where I was at. I mean, I was like barely getting out of bed in the morning, right? So I feel like all of that looks good and is beautiful and pretty and sells well, but there's this gap. And I feel like that's where my spot is in the world. It's the bridge. It's the talking to the women that are in the corner, crunched up, thinking that they don't exist and wondering how they're going to exist. And they are right at that brink of like jumping back in to trying to figure out all the habits and listen to all the podcasts they've already done before, and it didn't work. I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to good podcasts because you should, but there are some really pertinent things that need to be happening in these awakenings that will catch you from going into the spiral and the cycle that we have been on forever and ever. And our parents were on it and they never got off. This is where we get off the ride. This is where we get out from under the covers. This is where your mom walks in and splashes water on your face and is like, time to get up. We're going. Like all this shit that's happened to you out here has nothing to do with you. It is time to wake the hell up. And you are the only one that can get yourself out of bed. Yeah. Can I come in and rip off the covers? Hell yeah. Can I come in and splash water in your face? Uh-huh. But you're a grown-ass woman. I cannot physically pick you up, put your pants on, and get you to class. It's gonna be you. Like I have a 9-year-old right now. She's too big for me to like physically get her and put her pants on and get her out to school. Like if she does not get herself up and get in the car, it's almost impossible. So I can help you in your awakening. I can be the mom with the loudspeaker. I can be the person ripping the covers off, making you aware that, hey, it's morning. Your alarm has been going off for a hot freaking minute. The world needs you. The world needs you. And you cannot know that the world needs you until you're out in it being like, oh my gosh, that's how the world needs me. Holy crap. Like, I guess I got to show up tomorrow too. That is what I want to create, a whole world of women that you know that it matters that you wake up because you have seen what she does. You've seen who she is. So right now, today, these are the things you're going to apply. One, when you have all these crazy thoughts, I want you to sit for a second. If you need to dump them out of your head to write them down, great, do that. But just recognize you're not my thoughts. I don't know how you would talk to someone being mean to you, but I would challenge you to talk back. I would challenge you to get loud, use your voice. If your mean girl in your head is being ruthless today and telling you horrible things, test out yourself. Tell her like, no, that's not going to work for us today. Like, nice try. Thanks for being here. But no, there's a lot of tactics, a lot of tricks. You're the only one that knows you. There are some days where I know that I need to embrace all the pieces of me and be like, you know what? All of your love. Mean girl, come on in. Sad girl, come on in. Like, let's be a team here. What do y'all need? How can I be useful to you? Right? If you have a heart that is grieving for a loss of a parent or loved one right now, instead of being the grief, stand behind it and ask that part of you, like, how can I be useful to you? How can I help you? Grief that's here. I'm glad you're here. We need to feel you, but how can I be useful to you? Do you need me to wrap up in a blanket and just lay here? Do you need me to draw a bath? Do you need me to order ourselves some flowers? Like, do we need to be a friend? Do we need a friend to come be with us? Like, how can you be useful to yourself? We have been waiting for so long for someone to come and take care of us. We've been told for so long that a man is just going to show up and be our prince and take care of all of our needs. And nobody ever told us, hey, maybe you should ask yourself, how can he be useful to you? Right? I think that you are the person that is going to love yourself the way that you've been begging everybody else to love you. You are the person that is going to take yourself on the adventures and the thrill that you have been hoping someone would come and do for you. The answer is you. It's always been you. We were just told as women to go find a prince to save us and to take care of us. And so it's wonky and weird and overwhelming to feel like it's us because one, we're like, wait, I've done everything else. So I don't want to be in charge of me. Two, I just take care of everybody else. Somebody should take care of me. So that will be something you have to deal with. We'll talk about that in another workshop. But it is you, and you are enough. And I love when people say you are enough. It's not that you are enough just like for other people and that you are enough to help your self-esteem. You actually are enough for you. For you. You are enough for everything that is missing. Everything you feel like is this big gaping hole in your life. You are enough to fill it. The way you love, the way you care, the way you think, the ideas you have, the passions, the dreams, all of it is enough for you. And those are things that I was never taught. Now, as we are rolling out all of these Wednesday lives, and I am going to be launching in-depth, more personable, more intimate is what I should say, workshops where we can talk about things that need to be in a safe place where you can be with me on a Zoom call and we can be face-to-face and we could be talking about more in-depth subjects, more specific subjects, specifically your marriage, your long-term relationship, and you're shifting, your hormones are shifting, your belief system is shifting, you're waking up feeling all kinds of brand new, and yet your relationship exactly the same. How do you navigate that? And so we are going to be doing workshops, like 2-hour workshops, where you can come join me for these very specific conversations so that we can get through all these things that are keeping you stuck. I know that when I started doing self-inventory, when I would write this huge list of all these things that were happening in my life or all these problems, they felt so individual, so one-off, like, okay, let's deal with this person now. Like he did this and then he did this and then he did that and blah, blah, blah. And let's figure that out. And then I would jump over to this other thing, like, okay, well, my grandpa passed away and now I have all this, we have to deal with all of this. I was so overwhelmed by all this list of big chunks. And as I started working through these individual situations and flipping the script to see myself in the mirror and see what parts are mine, what parts I can control, what parts I can't, I started recognizing patterns. And by about like the fourth event on my inventory list, I was like, well, I know how this goes. Marcella is really frustrated when things don't go her way. Whether that's husband's having an affair, whether that's my grandpa passing away, whether that's my grandma getting dementia, whether that's my daughter moving out, my pattern is I lose my shit when things don't go my way. That was my thing that I can control, that is mine to have. And I started realizing all of these things that were individual were actually all the same. I was processing them all the same. And those are the types of things that I needed to go into great depth to understand my part to be able to get it out of my way. And these are the things we're going to be working on in my 2-hour workshops that we're going to be doing. I can't say every month, but quite often. So right now, I'm going to be doing the very first 2-hour in-depth workshop on a Zoom call where you can interact with me. We are going to be working together. You're going to get a free downloadable journal, and you can sign up for that, register for that. It's going to be February 1st. And there's a link in my bio right now. You can go grab it. It's very simple. You just buy it. It's $19 for a 2-hour workshop. And this very first one is going to dive into this conversation that we just had way in depth. Like, we're going to literally take you from being asleep to in life, laying in your bed, and we are going to pull off the covers. You're going to know every cover that is keeping you in bed right now. You're going to know every comfort that you want to stay in there, and we are going to get you out and get your feet on the floor. That's what we're doing. We are going to wake you the hell up because we need you and you need you. So that is February 1st. There's a link in my bio. Everyone that is in my Facebook community, I will be dropping the link there. And you can join me on February 1st for our very first 2-hour live workshop. And then before we go, I want you to know that I'm the author of Wake Her Up. This is my book. And I want to give you a free intro to it. So if you go to MarcellaHill.com, you can download right now, you can download the free intro. And that is an extension of this conversation. It's going to give you a lot more insight into my life, maybe a little more than you'll want to know about anybody. It's going to give you my awakenings in the beginning. And it's also something you can share with a friend if you feel like they are in the midst of feeling this kind of zombie, dead inside mode. That free intro will help you to navigate just today and feel a little more awake and alive. And so you can go to MarcellaHill.com and download my free intro. And then also at MarcellaHill.com, you can purchase a signed copy of the book, or you can grab the book on Amazon or Audible. Or also you can get it at like Barnes & Noble or any local bookstore. You can ask for them to order it in for you. So it's available everywhere. So today, before we go, I would love for you to tell me what was the most impactful thing that you heard in the last 45 minutes? What is it that your soul was like, ha, 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 ha. We heard that. What was the thing that sparked your soul today? What are you going away with? If I'm going to spend my 45 minutes here hanging out with you, I want it to be useful. I want to be here being useful to you. And so if I understand what it is that your souls are needing and what is sparking your soul, then I can come back next Wednesday and really help apply some really valuable things to you. So all my ladies in the Wake Her Up community, please jump in. Let me know what's your takeaway for today. Love to know this. Okay, Lisa. Hello, Lisa. How we should not view ourselves with our negative thoughts. Yes, your thoughts are jerks. Really are jerks. Honestly, probably my favorite days are when I am able to like shut her down, right? Like when I get real sassy with her and I'm like, nice try. That's actually not true at all. So thanks, but no thanks. And we can move on from there. I love that. Kate is walking away with, how can I be useful? I love that. Just asking yourself how to be useful to yourself. All right. And hello, everyone over here on TikTok. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what was useful to you. And if you need any more support, please come hang out with us in the Wake Her Up community on Facebook. All the information is linked in my bio. And I am going to be here next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we are going to dive into more of waking up your body. So today we were talking about waking up your soul, and next week we're going to talk about waking up your body and why doesn't your soul match your body, and how do we help each other? How do we help them come together and get a little more aligned so that your body can support your soul? And for that 2-hour workshop, please go and join and register for the 2-hour workshop. It's again February 1st, and we are going to be taking this conversation to a whole new level and making sure that you are living awake and alive. Go grab my book at MarcellaHill.com, and thank you so much for being here. If you're wanting to share this with someone, or maybe a friend didn't get to join us, I am going to be grabbing clips from this live and adding it into our Facebook group. It will be there, and also it will eventually be a podcast and on a blog post. So hang out with us. Make sure you're on the newsletter to get all the information. And today's live is brought to you by UTIs. Because UTIs suck, right? So next week, we're talking about how you can align your body. But yeah, I got this from Eucora. Not a paid advertisement, just a cool sweatshirt that I thought was awesome. Okay, ladies, thank you. Everybody, have such a good day. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at hello@wakeherup.co. And let's go build a new world where women actually feel awake and alive. Yes? Yes. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye. Oh, Lauren, I love that is a takeaway for you. Where are you from? You cannot love yourself unless you know yourself, right? There's like so many affirmations you can give yourself. Like you can't, it's pretty hard to love someone if you don't know them. Love that. Ladies, I hope that I will see more of you you're from Pennsylvania. That's awesome. Are you part of our community on Facebook? The community is amazing. I know a lot of people aren't even on Facebook anymore. So that's why I thought maybe I should do these lives more often, and we can catch a few more women that maybe aren't on Facebook. I hope you'll join me. I love that. Pause. How can I be useful in this situation? Awesome. I know not very many people do Facebook. It's so funny. It's like some women are like, that's all that they do. Some people are like, who does Facebook anymore? I think the only reason why I'm on Facebook is just for that community. It's just such a good way of having a community. So simple. I know there are other ways, but it just kind of seems like